video about the ride I took recently. I took the train with my Brompton folded from New York City up to Poughkeepsie, which is a place I've never visited before, having lived in New York for the last 4 decades. In any case, the train ticket was $18 from Marble Hill, which is not Manhattan, and so it is cheaper. If you took the train from any point in Manhattan, it would be probably a lot more. So the train is not cheap, and it was crowded. It was absolutely packed with tourists going up, getting off at these towns, especially going up to Peekskill and to this place, Beacon. And beautiful views of the Hudson Valley, just very nice, but the ride was not pleasant because it was so crowded and there were several people with full-size bicycles and all that, so it wasn't comfortable, and it took a lot longer than it was supposed to. I think the ride is supposed to be an hour and a half. I think it was more like 2 hours and a half. If you look at the greenways, they run from New York all the way up to Poughkeepsie and past it. And I always wondered why the greenway goes around the Hudson Valley so far away, but that's because of this state park, which is actually a very hilly terrain, and there are all these hills with little castles on the top, because some rich people used to live there. I don't know if they are functional today, but in any case, so I rode up here on the train, and then I took the bike and tried to avoid this place and stuck to the Hudson Valley, mostly riding on the 9, which is kind of pleasant down to about Beacon, but further down it gets crowded and packed with cars, so I would not do it again. Riding down to Beacon is fine, but if you do it, I would recommend that you get over to the Greenway and just stay away from the road, because this is so crowded and very narrow road with the tourists trying to walk, and there's no shoulder on the road, so cars, bikes, pedestrians, everybody's crammed into the tiny road. It was not a happy ride, I should say, coming back. Here is my bike at the Marble Hill station in the Bronx before I took off, and as you can see, it is fully detailed. It's looking as good as ever. I always detail the bike after every riding day, so it always looks as close to new as possible. And I took some pictures of the Hudson itself. In some areas it's deep and wide, in some other areas it's really shallow and it looks like you could just swim across it. Some beautiful views, some high lookout places, like there was this place near Peekskill where you could look around. And I took some pictures of the architecture. Both Poughkeepsie and Beacon has some really charming old early 20th century or even earlier North American architecture, but Poughkeepsie is not a nice place. It's full of poor people, garbage and everything. Beacon was really nice and really expensive as well, but only in the downtown area. Once you leave the downtown area, it's still civilized. It's not a poor place, but it's just there are so many ugly modern buildings that I don't like. I really like the old architecture, so I took pictures of that. And finally, my magnificent bicycle. The front of the bike still has the newly purchased tire, which I got last year. It's a 1.5 wide Green Speed Scorcher tire, which I absolutely love. I'm running it at 40 psi as opposed to the 100 psi I'm pumping into the Schwalbe in the rear. So I just like this tire so much. I'm going to upgrade the rear to match the front, and I will give you a report as soon as I have that tire. That's it for now. We'll be back later.